The moment he said those words, I felt something inside me shatter. I was halfway through my presentation when my boss cleared his throat and cut me off mid-sentence. "Ryan will be taking over your position." The room went silent. My stomach dropped. My PowerPoint still glowed on the screen, unfinished. Everyone avoided my eyes as he added, "You've done great work, but we need younger energy." Younger energy. The word stung worse than a slap. I just stood there, blinking under the fluorescent office lights, trying to process the humiliation. Ryan, his favorite protege, a 28-year-old who'd been with the company for barely 18 months. I was the one who trained him, defended him when he made mistakes, and covered for his incompetence. Now, I was being replaced by him. My boss didn't even look guilty. He just said it like a business transaction, like I was an old file ready to be archived. My throat tightened, but I forced a smile, nodded, and walked out with what little dignity I had left. I'm Sarah Mitchell, 42 years old, and until that moment, I was the senior account manager at Horizon Solutions in Seattle. For 8 good years, I'd built client relationships, closed deals, and mentored junior staff. I'd sacrificed weekends and family dinners for this company. I was indispensable, I thought. And now, in front of my entire team, my boss Marcus Kane was replacing me with Ryan Davis. Ryan sat 3 seats down, his expression carefully neutral. But I saw it, the slight upturn of his lips, the way he straightened in his chair. He knew this was coming. They'd planned it together. It was a calculated move, one I had never envisaged. I packed my desk in silence, while Ryan hovered awkwardly nearby. "It's nothing personal," he said. I almost laughed. Nothing personal. He was taking the job I'd spent years earning. As I turned to my badge, I could feel the eyes of my co-workers on my back. Pity mixed with fear. No one made a sound. If they could do this to me, they could do it to anyone. My hands shook as I loaded the cardboard box into my car. 8 years reduced to a cactus plant, 3 framed certificates, and a coffee mug that said Best Manager. The irony wasn't lost on me. I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes, staring at the building's glass facade. I promised myself I'd never walk through those doors as anyone's subordinate again. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Marcus's words. Younger energy. What did that even mean? I'd brought in 40% of the company's revenue last year. My clients trusted me. My team respected me. But none of that mattered because Ryan was younger, cheaper, and Marcus's hand-picked successor. For days, I replayed that moment in my head, the smirk, the dismissal, the quiet whispers after I left his office. I had given many years of loyalty, built his department from scratch, sacrificed weekends and relationships. And just like that, I was disposable. I felt broken, but not beaten. Underneath the humiliation, something else began to burn. Clarity. They'd taken my job, but not my talent. And I was going to make sure they remembered me, not as their former employee, but as the person they should have never underestimated. For weeks, I drifted. Job boards became my constant companion as I thought to explore a few options again. I sent out resume after resume, each one a reminder of what I'd lost. Rejection emails piled up in my inbox. "We've decided to move forward with other candidates. Your experience is impressive, but we're looking for someone with a different skill set." Different skill set. Code for younger. Every time I saw a company logo, I remembered what it felt like to be discarded. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning, heart racing, replaying that meeting over and over. The look on Ryan's face. Marcus's casual dismissal of 8 years of loyalty. My coworker's silence. But beneath the bitterness, something sharper grew. I didn't want another boss again. I didn't want to climb another corporate ladder only to be pushed off when someone younger came along. I wanted control. I wanted to build something that couldn't be taken from me, something that was mine alone. So I started. I took my savings and built a quiet, one-woman consulting business, helping struggling firms streamline their operations. At first, it was chaos. Late nights hunched over my laptop, trying to figure out invoicing and tax codes. Tiny paychecks that barely covered rent. Cold coffee and cheaper meals. My savings account dwindled week by week. My sister called every few days, worried. "Sarah, maybe you should just find another job. Something stable." But I couldn't go back. Not to the uncertainty of working for someone who could replace me on a whim. I'd rather eat ramen for dinner and sleep 4 hours a night than put myself through that again. My first real client was a struggling marketing agency in Tacoma. They needed someone to restructure their account management system. It was exactly the kind of work I'd done at Horizon, but now I was doing it on my terms. No Marcus looking over my shoulder. No Ryan waiting to steal credit. Just results. And I loved it. For the first time in years, I was building something that couldn't be taken from me, but something that would be mine for as long as I wanted it. 3 months later, I got a LinkedIn message from an unfamiliar contact. But the company name made my pulse quicken. Horizon Solutions. My old firm. The message was professional, almost sterile. "We're seeking external expertise for a critical client deal. Your background suggests you might be a good fit. Would you be available for a consultation?" My lips curled. Karma had a sense of timing. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I did what I always did. Research. I reached out to former co-workers who still worked there. Coffee meetings and careful questions revealed the story I'd been hoping to hear. Their biggest account, a $2 million contract with Pacific Northwest Industries, was falling apart. The client was threatening to walk. Deadlines were being missed. Communication had broken down completely. And guess who was leading the project? Ryan, the prodigy, the boy with younger energy, who'd replaced me. I didn't even have to ask what went wrong. I knew exactly how unprepared he was for real responsibility. My phone rang late one evening. The number wasn't saved in my contacts, but I recognized the area code. Horizon Solutions. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Sarah Mitchell speaking. "Sarah, it's Marcus." His voice was different. No authority. No confidence. Just exhaustion. "I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." I leaned back in my chair, looking out at the Seattle skyline from my small apartment office. "I'm listening." "We could really use your help," he said carefully, "even if it's just temporarily. The Pacific Northwest Industries account is in trouble, and we need someone with your expertise to stabilize things." I let the silence hang. Let him sweat. "I'm running a consultancy now," I said evenly. "My rates aren't cheap." His pause told me everything. He was desperate. "Name your price," he said. I named a figure 3 times what they'd paid me as a full-time employee. Per week. He agreed without negotiation. He was so desperate for the mess to be fixed before it's completely out of control. Walking back into that glass-walled office was surreal. The same receptionist sat at the front desk, offering me a visitor's badge with a confused smile. She remembered me. The same smell of burnt coffee and overworked air conditioning filled the hallways. The same motivational posters hung on the walls. Teamwork makes the dream work. Innovation through collaboration. All sorts of. But this time I wasn't one of them. I was a consultant, independent, expensive, and they needed me desperately. Marcus met me in the lobby, his handshake firmer than necessary. "Thank you for coming on such short notice. I know things ended badly between us, but I hope we can put that behind us." I smiled politely. "I'm here for the client, Marcus, not for us." As we walked toward the conference room, I noticed the changes. Empty desks where familiar faces used to sit. The energy felt different, strained. People moved through the hallways with their heads down, avoiding eye contact. As I stepped into the conference room, heads turned. Ryan sat at the end of the table, pale and tense. Dark circles under his eyes suggested he hadn't been sleeping well. Good. My old team filled the other chairs. Some looked relieved to see me. Others looked embarrassed. Marcus introduced me through clenched teeth. This is Sarah Mitchell. She's here to assist with the Pacific Northwest Industries account. Assist, not lead, not fix. Assist. The word was carefully chosen to protect Ryan's ego. Ryan forced a smile, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. Good to see you again, Sarah. We've heard great things about your consulting work. I smiled back, the kind that says, I know exactly why I'm here, and so do you. Happy to help however I can. Marcus pulled up the project status on the screen. The timeline was a disaster. Red marks everywhere. Missed deliverables. Unanswered client emails. Budget overruns. I'd seen failing projects before, but this was spectacular. It took me 2 days to uncover the full mess. I reviewed every document, every email chain, every client communication. Overpromised deliverables that were impossible to meet. Missing documentation that should have been completed months ago. Unrealistic deadlines set without consulting the team actually doing the work. It wasn't just a mistake. It was arrogance. Ryan had bitten off more than he could chew, trying to impress the client and Marcus simultaneously. He'd made promises I would never have made because I understood the limitations of our resources. The team was exhausted and demoralized. In private conversations, they admitted Ryan never asked for their input. He just issued orders and expected miracles. When things went wrong, he blamed them. 3 people had quit in the past 6 weeks. I drafted a recovery plan. Every step was something I'd once begged Marcus to implement, and he'd ignored me. Proper project management systems, regular client check-ins, realistic timelines with buffer periods. It wasn't complicated. It was just professional. By the end of the first week, the client noticed the difference. We had a video call scheduled, and I'd prepared a comprehensive status update, clear progress markers, honest assessments of challenges, solutions already in development. Halfway through the presentation, the client's CEO interrupted. "Who's handling things now?" he asked, looking directly at the camera. Marcus stammered, "We've brought in a consultant to assist Ryan with—" "Whatever she's doing, it's working," the CEO said firmly. "This is the first honest communication we've had in 2 months. I want her on every call moving forward." That was the first time I saw Marcus flinch. Ryan's face went red, but he said nothing. After the call ended, the conference room cleared quickly. Everyone suddenly had urgent work to do elsewhere. I gathered my materials, slowly, deliberately. Marcus approached me carefully. "That went well," he said. "Better than expected." "It went how it should have gone from the beginning," I replied. Ryan started undermining me in meetings. Subtle digs about consultants, not understanding the company culture. Interrupted sentences when I was explaining solutions. Whispered comments to teammates that I could hear, but couldn't address directly without looking petty. But this time I didn't flinch. I'd spent 3 months building my own business, learning to trust my expertise without needing external validation. Every attempt Ryan made to diminish me only made him look smaller. I was calm, deliberate, unbothered. Everything he wasn't. During one particularly tense meeting, Ryan suggested we go back to his original timeline to prove it could work. I looked at him steadily and said, "The client has already rejected that approach twice. We're moving forward with the revised plan." He opened his mouth to argue, but Marcus cut him off. "Sarah's right. We stick with the new timeline." Ryan's jaw clenched, but he nodded. After the meeting, one of my former teammates caught me in the hallway. "It's good to have you back, even if it's temporary," she whispered. Marcus pulled me into his office one afternoon. The space looked exactly the same. Same desk, same leather chair, same view of downtown Seattle. But his demeanor was different. Less commanding, more uncertain. "We appreciate your help," he began carefully. "The board's noticing the turnaround. They're impressed." He paused, choosing his words. "Would you consider rejoining full-time? We could offer you a senior position, maybe even a partnership track." I met his gaze and said gently, "You couldn't afford me." His expression froze. "I'm serious, Sarah. We need someone with your expertise long-term. Name your terms." "Marcus, I make more in a month now than you paid me in 6 as your employee. And I have 5 other clients besides you. Why would I give that up to work for someone who told me I lacked younger energy?" He had no answer for that. I stood to leave, then paused at the door. "I'm not here for redemption. I'm here because you're paying me well to fix a problem you created." As the project turned around, the client grew more confident in our team, or more specifically in me. They started requesting that I handle all future communications directly. No more Ryan, no more Marcus, just me. During one call, the client CEO said something that made my entire team shift uncomfortably. "Sarah, we're considering expanding our contract with Horizon, but that's contingent on you remaining the primary contact. Are you staying long-term?" I glanced at Marcus, who looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. "I'm a consultant," I said diplomatically, "but I'm committed to seeing this project through successfully." "Not good enough," the CEO replied. "We need to know you'll be available for the expansion phase. Otherwise, we'll need to reconsider the partnership." After the call, Marcus looked at me with something like panic. $2 million is nothing compared to what the expansion could bring. 5, maybe 6 million over 3 years. We need you. Then you know what you need to do, I said simply. 2 weeks later, I found Ryan in the hallway. His shoulders were slumped, his usual confidence completely gone. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in 3 months. "They're blaming me for almost losing the deal," he muttered, not quite meeting my eyes. Marcus said I should have asked for help sooner, that I was in over my head. I looked at him for a long moment. Part of me wanted to feel sorry for him. He was young, ambitious, and Marcus had set him up to fail by promoting him too fast. But another part remembered his smug smile in that conference room 3 months ago. "Then maybe you'll learn what accountability feels like," I said quietly and walked away. Behind me, I heard him say something, but I didn't turn back. Whatever lesson Ryan needed to learn wasn't my responsibility to teach. I had my own path to focus on. Marcus started calling me before major meetings, asking for my advice on client management, team dynamics, and project planning. The same man who once dismissed my ideas as too ambitious now treated every word I said like gold. Each call ended the same way. "Thank you, Sarah. We should have listened sooner." "Oh, yes, you should have." One evening, he called about a different client entirely. Nothing to do with Pacific Northwest Industries. Just Marcus, struggling with a negotiation and desperate for guidance. I walked him through the strategy, the same approach I'd recommended a year ago that he'd ignored. "This is exactly what you suggested for the Morrison account," he said slowly, realization dawning. And I shot it down. "Yes," I said simply. "How many other ideas did I ignore?" "Do you really want that answer?" I asked. He was quiet for a long moment, then thanked me and hung up. After successfully renewing the Pacific Northwest Industries contract, Marcus made his move. He invited me to dinner at an expensive downtown restaurant, the kind with white tablecloths and wine lists thicker than novels. "I'll get straight to the point," he said after we ordered. "We'd like you to return as head of operations. Full executive package, stock options, corner office, whatever you need." I pretended to consider it. "Under one condition," I said. "Ryan reports to me." He hesitated. His protege, his chosen successor, reporting to the woman he'd replaced with him. The irony was thick enough to cut with a knife. Then he nodded. "If that's what it takes." That's when I knew. I wasn't just getting my seat back. I was reclaiming my power on my terms. And Marcus was desperate enough to agree to anything. But I hadn't decided yet if I wanted it. A week later, a press article appeared in the Seattle Business Journal. "Local consultant rescues failing $2 million project. The article detailed how an anonymous consultant had stabilized a major client relationship for a prominent Seattle firm. My phone exploded with messages. Recruiters offering positions. Potential clients requesting consultations. Former coworkers congratulating me. Even Ryan's old mentors reached out, praising my professional recovery. I didn't reply to most of them. I didn't need to. The work spoke for itself. One message stood out, though. From Jennifer Lee, the CEO of TechVision Dynamics, Horizon's biggest competitor. Impressive work on the P&I account. We should talk about opportunities. I saved that message. Didn't respond yet, but I saved it. Late that night, Marcus sent an email. I owe you an apology. You were the backbone of this department, and I failed to see it. I let you go because I thought Ryan could do the same job for less. I was wrong about everything. I stared at it for a while, then closed my laptop. Some apologies come too late to matter. When Marcus tried to finalize my contract as head of operations, I declined politely. We met in his office. The employment agreement spread across his desk. Stock options highlighted. Salary circled in red. Benefits package attached. I've built something of my own now, I told him. And it's growing. The shock on his face was almost satisfying enough. But not quite. I had one last move left. You're turning down a six-figure salary and executive position to keep consulting? He asked, genuinely confused. I'm turning down the chance to work for someone who could fire me on a whim, I corrected. Again, my business brought in more last quarter than this salary offers in a year, and I did it in 3 months. He leaned back, processing this. The board won't be happy. The client wants you specifically. Then hire me as a consultant, I said. Ongoing retainer. I'll handle P&I and any other accounts you need. But I work for myself now. He had no choice. He agreed to my terms. The following month, my firm signed a partnership with TechVision Dynamics, Jennifer Lee's company, Horizon's biggest competitor. I was to lead their operations audit and help streamline their account management systems. The same role Horizon once said I was unfit for. I didn't plan it as revenge. Jennifer approached me with a legitimate business opportunity. Better pay, interesting challenges, a company that valued experience over age. But I knew how it would look. When news broke, my phone rang within an hour. Marcus, is it true? You're working with TechVision. I'm consulting for them, yes, I said calmly. Just like I consult for you. I have multiple clients now. That's how consulting works. They're our direct competitor, Sarah. And I signed non-disclosure agreements with both companies. I'm not sharing proprietary information. I'm using my general expertise to help them improve their systems. There's nothing unethical about it. He couldn't argue, but I heard the frustration in his voice. This looks bad for us. Then maybe you should have hired me when you had the chance, I said and ended the call. Word spread fast through our industry's network. Horizon Solutions lost another major client 2 weeks later. Not to me, not to TechVision. They just left because the company's reputation for instability had grown too large to ignore. Ryan resigned quietly. I heard through former coworkers that he took a position at a smaller firm, a step down from where he'd started. Marcus's department shrank. 3 more senior people left for competitors, citing lack of leadership and direction. The board started questioning Marcus's decisions. His visionary leadership that had once been praised was now being scrutinized. Every choice that led to this point was examined and found wanting. I felt nothing watching it unfold. Not satisfaction, not pity, just the quiet understanding that actions have consequences. Marcus had created this situation by valuing loyalty less than cost savings, by choosing potential over proven performance, by thinking he could replace experience with youth and energy. The company didn't collapse, but it changed, and not for the better. Marcus called me one last time, 3 months after I declined his offer. Could we meet? He asked. His voice carried a weight I'd never heard before. Just coffee. Off the record. I agreed, curious what he wanted now. We met at a quiet cafe near the waterfront, far from Horizon's offices. When he arrived, he looked smaller somehow, older. The stress had carved lines into his face. I just wanted to say you were right, he began without preamble. About everything. The systems you wanted to implement. The team structure you proposed. The client management approach. All of it. I sipped my coffee, waiting for whatever came next. Ryan wasn't ready, he continued. I pushed him too fast because I thought I could mold him into what I needed. Someone cheaper than you. Someone I could control. But he wasn't you. Nobody else had your instincts. I felt I never made such a mistake. Is this the apology? I asked gently. No, he said. The apology was the email. This is me admitting I destroyed something good because I was too proud to appreciate it while I had it. I smiled softly. No, I said. I just didn't stop when you told me to. I moved instead. His expression shifted, understanding dawning. What do you mean? You didn't destroy me, Marcus. You freed me. Firing me was the best thing you could have done. I set down my coffee cup. I would have stayed at Horizon forever, accepting whatever salary you offered, grateful for the stability. I would have let you take credit for my work and told myself it was fine, because that's how corporate culture works. He started to speak, but I continued. You showed me I was capable of more than being someone's employee, someone's subordinate. You forced me to trust myself enough to build something of my own. So thank you. Then I stood and left, leaving him sitting there with his coffee and his regrets. I meant what I said. I was grateful, not for his intentions, which were selfish, but for the outcome of it, which was to my gain. Months later, I drove past Horizon's office. The logo had changed. New management had taken over after the board pushed Marcus out. The company was restructuring, trying to rebuild the reputation that had been damaged by incompetent hands. My reflection caught in the glass as I slowed at a red light. Calm, steady, unrecognizable from the woman who once walked out of that place fighting back tears. I didn't need revenge anymore. I had something better. Freedom. It was a real freedom. My consulting firm had grown to 7 clients. I'd hired 2 associates to help manage the workload. We'd moved into a small office downtown with views of Elliott Bay. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Built on my terms, my expertise, my decisions. And it was working out. I didn't work weekends anymore unless I chose to. I took vacations without asking permission. I decided which projects to accept and which to decline. And I made more money than I'd ever imagined possible. The light turned green. I drove on, leaving Horizon Solutions behind in every sense. Now, when people ask how I built my business so fast, I just smile and say, by being replaced with younger energy. They usually laugh, thinking it's a joke. But I'm serious. Being replaced taught me 3 critical lessons. First, that loyalty to a company or someone that doesn't value you is wasted energy. Second, your worth isn't determined by someone else's opinion. Third, sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for the best thing you'll ever do. This I became grateful for at the end. I still consult for Horizon occasionally, not because they need me, but because the contract pays well and I enjoy reminding them of what they lost. The new CEO treats me with respect. The teams I work with appreciate my expertise. And there's a certain satisfaction in being the external expert they fly in to fix their problems. Ryan reached out last month. A LinkedIn message asking for career advice. I considered ignoring it, but decided against it. I sent him a brief response suggesting he focus on learning rather than impressing. Whether he takes that advice isn't my concern, since I no longer need to bother myself with that. Unlike when I was still training him, then it was my responsibility. Sometimes being underestimated isn't the end. It's just the beginning of becoming unforgettable. The start of proving that what they thought was your ceiling was actually just your foundation. Marcus taught me that lesson, though not in the way he intended. He thought replacing me would solve a budget problem. Instead, he created a competitor who understood his company's weaknesses intimately. Someone who knew exactly where the cracks were because she'd tried to fix them for years. I don't hate him. I don't hate Ryan. Hate requires energy. I'd rather spend that on building my business. But I do think about that meeting sometimes. The moment he cut me off mid-presentation and told me I was being replaced. The shock, the humiliation, the fear, the silence, the eyes behind my back while I pack. And then I look around my office, at my team, at the client list that keeps growing. I think about the freedom I have now, the control over my own time, life, and destiny. And I realize that moment, as painful as it was, set me free. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's becoming so successful that their opinion of you becomes irrelevant. And that's exactly what I did. Real revenge isn't destroying someone. It's watching them realize you built yourself higher than they ever thought you could rise.